Three of them give back to the grid more than what we take from the grid, electricity grid. We are completely ESG compliant. Have you heard of ESG? ESGs are guidelines and mandatory guidelines to follow environment sustainable and governance. It's a cost, but if you really look at it in the long term, they give back more than what it costs right at the beginning. So the total cost of ownership actually gets driven down when you adopt environment-friendly and best technology and practices. So it's actually good business sense. So don't think that we are doing it just for the environment. It's also for profit. I told you. Similarly, customers. The great thing that is happening today with the internet media is that people are much more aware that the issues of global warming, sustainability, gender, diversity, inclusiveness, it's very, very palatable, and particularly I can see it in your generation. My children are about this generation itself, and the awareness and the affirmative action you guys are willing to take for it is enormous. So consumers are becoming more aware, and actually the brand preferences are getting, brand choices are getting determined by the kind of corporations that are making those products. People are becoming more and more aware. And believe you me, so it's not just cool to be socially or environmentally aware, it's actually good business practice. It gives us more revenue. And finally, you look at it as an employee. The fourth part of it, you look at employees. Why as a social organization? This lady is still preoccupied by bringing up a child, which means the lady employee is not disadvantaged for the next 2 years because of this, break in her career or the new life, and their careers can be sustained on an equal footing as we go along. So these are examples of corporations becoming more nuanced. Not in my company, but I know when we talk about diversity, it's not about only sexual diversity. It's neurodivergence also, who get jobs and are earmarked certain jobs which can a neurodivergent person can also handle. This is where the companies are stepping in, and that is why I keep saying that corporations today are just beyond making profits. We are social organizations. And honestly speaking, if you really look at the century by values, these are value statements for my company. What are they? Integrity, excellence, passion, empowerment, respect. What is respect? You respect your customers, you respect each other's, you respect the employees, you respect the environment, you respect the government and laws of the land, and integrity right at the big top. Integrity in thought and action or whatever we do. So this is how company values are getting built up. The reason why I spent so much time on all of this is because I wanted to tell you guys that trying to improve the quality of life and to solve the world's problems, there are many routes, and corporations are also one of them. They are part of the society. And of course, let me also tell you in the same breath, legislations work. So apart from the corporates coming forward and doing things on their own, the ESG compliances, legislations from the government actually motivate and push the corporations and the business world to have their practices which is in sync with what the social requirements are. Okay, so this was a little bit about the corporations. I've said my part defending my community. But let me, just briefly touch upon social entrepreneurship. I am honestly not from this part of the world, but obviously I observe part of the society. And, therefore I would like to highlight a little bit about it because there was some thinking that I have seen amongst, and I personally am involved in a lot of social work, Rotary and all. Social work is not social entrepreneurship, that's what I'm trying to tell you. And And honestly, social entrepreneurship can have far bigger and wider impact than we can imagine. So I'm going to today talk about what do you think is the largest social enterprise in India today? Any guesses? What is the largest social enterprise? Any thoughts, any guesses? Okay, it's Amul. You heard of Amul? The milk product, the milk company. So, let me give you a few stats about Amul. Do you know Amul is the largest FMCG brand in India? Bigger than all your Hindustan Levers, ITCs, everything. 72,000 crores, single brand Amul. It created the white revolution in India since 1974. India now contributes to 23% of the world's milk production and expected to be 30% by 2033. And the per capita consumption of milk in India is actually higher than the global average. This has never happened in any other category of consumption in India. We are always at the bottom of the table, but with milk we are right up there. The value contribution of milk is more than the contribution of wheat, paddy and pulses put together. Yeah? And the Amul model, which is the Gujarat, actually, it's a Gujarat milk, Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation Limited. I don't know whether you know how Amul works or not, but let me tell you, Amul is actually a cooperative. It is owned by 36 lakh farmers in a cooperative setup in Gujarat. And I'm just talking about Amul in Gujarat. There are other similar cooperatives now, rest of the country, it's got replicated. 36 lakh farmers. The average size of that farmer, the holding, is 3 to 5 cows. It's women primarily. More than 50% of the constituent farmer members are women. And the ripple effect of alleviating hunger and nutrition deficiency is enormous. This is a social enterprise. It's a cooperative. Right? When the average food inflation in the last 2 years has been 9%, milk inflation has been 5.4%. Milk is therefore far more cheaper to consume compared to many other food products. You know, you go on the net, then you find a wealth of information. So, you know, the reason why I put this up is to kind of open up your minds as to the enormous size a social enterprise can have. So fixing a problem, you know, which is very local is also important. But I think you guys who are in the best of institutions, with the best of education, you know, I think you guys should also start thinking very big. Can you solve big problems? I think you guys can. And that is what I wanted to put before you. In fact, I also heard that one of the, or the key word this year or last year, whatever it is unlimited. Think unlimited. Give you a small example. Food scarcity. It's not enough to save wastage of food. There is enough food that is being grown. The problem is of food flows, economic flows, and the subsidy flows. Food is a very nationalist kind of subject. Every government is subsidizing and overgrowing food, but there are food deficient areas. Can you, with your education, can you design, you know, policies? Can you design flows by which the food will flow from an excess area to a deficient area without disturbing the nationalistic feelings, without making it unremunerative, without, you know, removing away the subsidies that are required? Can you do that? I don't know. But maybe that's the challenge for you, the next generation. So guys, go ahead, do something great, and this world will actually applaud. Thank you. Any questions, anything I can
If anyone wants to ask questions, they can ask the speaker.
Fair enough. I think I've kind of stunned them into silence. No. It's okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your profound insights and wisdom with us today. Your extensive experience and strategic vision have provided us with valuable perspectives on leadership, innovation, and the future of business. It has been an absolute honor to have you as a keynote speaker today. Thank you once again. We are now honored to present a series of expert-led sessions focusing on finance, marketing, and human resources. These sessions are designed to provide you with valuable insights and practical knowledge from leaders in these critical areas. We begin with the finance session, and it is my privilege to introduce our very first speaker, Mr. Sameer Jathani, a chartered accountant and a distinguished banking professional with over 19 years of rich experience across various segments and functions within the banking industry. Currently serving as the zonal head at the ICICI Bank, Mr. Jathani has played a pivotal role in driving growth and innovation across his region. His career has seen him excel in wholesale banking, SME business banking, and retail banking, with significant contributions at leading institutions such as Kotak Mahindra Bank and ABN AMRO Bank before his impactful tenure at ICICI Bank. With a deep understanding of the financial landscape, Mr. Jathani has consistently demonstrated his expertise in steering complex financial operations, ensuring robust performance, and leading his teams to success. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sameer Jathani. We are all eager to gain from his invaluable insights and extensive experience. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Prachi. Hi, everybody. To be very fair, Prachi gave a very elaborate introduction, which I don't deserve, to be very honest. And Mr. Navarun Sen has left a very difficult job for me after his illustrious speech. It's very difficult for me to follow, but I'll of course try to fit in. A very good afternoon to all the faculty members. It's an absolute honor, and going by a theme, I am actually excited to be given this opportunity to take a session on finance. I will try and keep it interactive, will try and make it interesting. Would urge all of you to be interactive and of course ask as many questions as you all have. So I have my colleague Komal from ICICI Bank who will be helping me in this presentation. So we'll be basically covering two things. Over the last 5 years or so, we all would have witnessed the digital transformation that we have been witnessing all around us. So as part of the overall exercise, UPI has become a very integral part of our day-to-day life. So we cover brief aspects around UPI and the entire ecosystem and the value system and the latest developments in that. Other than that, we'll also cover brief role of RBI and the various tools which RBI uses. Some of it you all might be reading in your respective curriculums. So we thought that this might be of some help to all of you. So before we start, can I have 3 volunteers here, please? Can I have 3 volunteers here, please? Yeah, anybody? I would love to have some students. That would be absolutely great. Come, don't worry. So if I remember the names correct, SRs will have to pull up somebody. Thanks, come. No, you can come here right next to me. So the reason I called all of you is we use UPI in some form or the other. You know what is UPI? So how do you use it? Or you see who are in your family, in your immediate surrounding using it? Mostly everybody. So would you be able to tell us whose idea was this? Who started this concept of UPI and when was it started? No worries. Anybody, when did UPI get started and who actually started this? So just to give you a brief introduction, UPI is nothing but all the QR codes across the city, across the length and breadth of the country. You go and buy grocery, you go and buy vegetables, you go to a school, pay your fee, you go to an airport, grab your bike, etc., so on and so forth. Everything is on UPI today, right? So UPI was basically started by NPCI, okay, the National Payments Corporation of India, which is an offshoot of RBI. So back in the year 2016, so my question to these three young people here. So what happened? There was a great thing which happened in 2016, okay, quote unquote great. What was that? Bang on. So the word is demonetization. So we all witnessed demonetization in the year 2016. And it was a mere coincidence or a planned exercise that UPI was also launched in the year 2016 by NPCI. Back in those days, none of us probably knew, even people who were working with banks. I've been working with various banks for the last 20 years or so. Trust me, none of us thought that this can actually become so big that it would ultimately become an integral part of all walks of life the way it is today. One last question from my dear friends who actually volunteered to come up. Do you think that you all can survive without UPI today? So I'm sure a lot of you would actually go overseas to study or to pursue something or the other. Do you think something equivalent exists anywhere else in the world other than India? So the unanimous answer was no, there is no equivalent product outside India, but of course they are trying to develop. So I would like all of you to applaud what NPCI, very much part of RBI, has done actually and what it has meant. And just think of our lives during the pandemic. What would have happened had UPI not been there? Thank you. Yeah, Kumal, I will be prompting you to move to the subsequent slides. Yeah, so this slide basically gives you a snapshot of how the entire UPI volumes have, how the UPI ecosystem has evolved and how UPI volumes have humongously increased over the past 5 years or so. Now, a few very important data points, okay? The overall number of internet users and the average data consumption or the average data usage in terms of GBP, in terms of the GBs we consume, okay, it has grown exponentially over the past 5 years. Of course, pandemic had its own role to play to expedite this pace. One further data point, if you look at the numbers, back in the financial year 2019, the overall UPI volume was around 10 trillion rupees in FY 2019. And in the financial year 2024, we just got over in March, okay, the overall UPI transaction volume touched 200 trillion INR. So that is roughly 2/3 the size of Indian economy. So Indian economy is plus minus 300 trillion. So 2/3 of the Indian economy, that was the size of the UPI transaction. And as we speak, this number is ever increasing. And as per estimates of various experts, this number will soon go beyond the overall GDP number. Now, one very important takeaway from here is that when this entire thing started, trust me, none of us thought that this would become so big. So, just to take a small thing back into your respective thought process, and as Mr. Sen also elaborated upon, never think that any of your thoughts actually are very small. if you can actually channelize them with the right kind of energy, the right kind of articulation, and the right kind of thinking behind it, trust me, a lot of your ideas, a lot of ideas of people sitting in this room can actually come big, and tomorrow they will actually sell as a hot proposition. Yeah, Komal, we can move to the next slide. This, I think, is a continuation of the previous slide. Sorry for that. Yeah. Yeah, on the left hand side, you will see the entire ecosystem which has evolved around the UPI piece. Okay, today, as I mentioned, right from buying vegetables to buying grocery to paying school fees to paying air tickets, rail tickets, insurance premiums, hospitalization bills, etc., etc., etc. Everything and anything is today on UPI. I'm sure quite a few of you also invest in the markets, okay? Quite a few of you invest in IPOs, quite a few of you have already started investing by way of SIPs into mutual funds. All that has been enabled on UPI today. So you think of anything, you think of everything, you'll have to think of UPI. That's the way it is. And RBI, NPCI, under the guidance of Government of India, of course, keeps ensuring that a lot of developments are unveiled as the entire thing is progressing. Yeah, Komal, we can move to the next slide. So here basically we will try to cover a few recent initiatives which have been taken by NPCI, a few recent changes which have been allowed in the entire UPI ecosystem. The first change, okay, was recently announced as recent as last week. So what happens is, let's say your parents want to keep a check on where all you are spending, of course, right? So what they can do is, to their UPI account, they can add your number. You can use your phone to make the various payments through UPI, but it is your parents' account which is going to get debited. Okay, the only drawback for you students is that your parents would know where are you spending, but to the entire ecosystem, it's a big plus, because trust me, there are various other use cases other than this which can actually make it very, very meaningful, right? So that's the first thing which has recently got added to this entire piece. The second thing, okay, is basically a single block and multiple debit. Now what is this? So let's say unfortunately one of us is hospitalized, and the hospital asks us to deposit a certain sum of money, and they say that we don't know what would the treatment cost. So it's better that you pay a lump sum, okay? So we can tell them, boss, you don't debit my account, instead you block my UPI account with a certain amount, and as the treatment progresses, you can keep debiting it with amounts as per the progressive billing. So that is the second function which is also being enabled. Okay? So the third function is very obvious. So basically you can pay your installments, you can pay your credit card bills, everything has been enabled on UPI. The fourth function, okay, there is something called auto pay. Is anybody aware of what is an auto pay? What is an auto pay? Sorry, can't hear you. Yeah, so auto pay, as the word basically suggests. Thank you, sir. So auto pay is basically on a preset date, a preset amount will keep getting debited on a recurring basis from your account. Okay, so we don't want the hassle of entering the OTP or authorizing those transactions every time those auto pay requests are raised. So this has been allowed. Of course, there are certain restrictions, or it has been only allowed for certain categories to ensure that frauds don't take place. Next is UPI Lite. Any idea, anybody? Does any one of you use UPI Lite? Nobody. I thought my daughter is the only one who does not make small expenses, because it is cluttering your bank statement with too many transactions. So that is what UPI Lite serves. This tap and pay, of course, I'm sure all of you know. So this feature was there with credit cards. Your credit cards can be saved on your phone, and instead of swiping the credit card physically, you can tap your phone. Of course, there are certain limits only up to which this function works with credit cards. So is the case with UPI. While they have enabled this feature on UPI also, but to keep it safe and sound to start with, they have kept certain limits. You can just tap your phone on a QR code and fill up the amount, and the amount gets paid. Very recently, again, the transaction limits have also been increased. While the transaction limit was 1 lakh for UPI, what they have done is for mutual fund subscriptions, for payment to hospitals, for payment to schools and colleges or the education institutes, they have increased the limit to 5 lakh. And last but not the least, of course, they've also reduced the turnaround time or the query or the grievance redressal mechanism. So the timelines have come down significantly. Of course, this is an ever-evolving thing. Komal, we can move to the next slide. Thanks. Yeah. So basically, we've tried to sum up the way forward as we see from a bank's point of view, that where this entire ecosystem or where this entire UPI piece is going to take us. Okay, so as Mr. Sen suggested, that social responsibility is a very important and integral part of all of us, and it has to be so. And we all will have to ensure that the entire country or the entire nation grows. So digital inclusion, okay, or digital awareness of across the length and breadth of the country is the only way we can actually grow at a much faster pace. So this entire UPI piece, to our understanding, is actually taking digital inclusion to the next level. Go to any rural area today, go to any suburbs, the entire UPI piece is being used the way it is being used in all the urban areas. And I'm sure as time progresses, more and more people will completely move on to this digital mode only. Second point, with respect to what happens over the next 3 to 5 years with respect to UPI. So you will see a lot of interoperability whereby the UPI piece will keep getting integrated with a lot of other payment solutions within the country, and of course with a lot of payment solutions outside the country also. So of course, maybe some of you are aware that if you visit an Eiffel Tower today, or if you visit any place in a UAE today, you can pay very much through UPI. Of course, the amount of INR or the Indian rupee will get debited from your account. It will get converted into the local currency of that country, and fee or the visit charge would be paid. And as we speak, every day, RBI, NPCI, Government of India is trying to ensure that it keeps getting adopted and embraced by various other tourist destinations also. So maybe 5 years hence, maybe 10 years hence, there will be no place where UPI will not be acceptable. Yeah, I think fairly we have covered all the points. So I'll take a short pause here before we move on to the next topic, in case anyone of you have any queries. And I'll leave with one thought. Okay, so as Mr. Sen mentioned, we all are part of the respective, dear fellow colleagues from the respective corporates. We all, of course, work for profitability. So through this entire UPI piece, what is the profitability model? Can anybody tell me? So Asas, probably I'll have to take your help once again, and Prasha, I'll have to take your help once again. I need some volunteers to answer, because unless somebody answers, I'll not be able to put my point forward. Anybody, yeah. Okay, Asas, I can ask you also, it's okay. So, tell you very frankly, Okay, what are the various digital modes of payment? UPI is one. What are the other options? You can pay by a credit card, you can pay by a debit card. Now, the moment you use a credit card, use a debit card, you use a UPI. Who gains? In terms of which organization makes money out of it? No. So let's say you're buying grocery. So of course money moves out of your account and goes to the grocery shopkeeper's account, right? Of course the grocery shopkeeper earns. But out of this UPI transaction, okay, from the financial domain, who gains? Tell me something very honestly. Money is going out of your bank account, so bank does not get to see that money in your account. Do you think that the bank gains? No. So the answer is no, because money is going to go out of Asas's account. I'm sorry if I hope I am pronouncing your name correct. So money is going out of Asas's account. So she is convinced that the bank does not gain. The grocery shopkeeper's bank account gets that money, so that bank of course gains. Anything else? So think of the same situation where you made this transaction by way of a credit card. Then what would have happened? So think of the same situation where actually Asas, instead of paying through UPI, pays through the credit card. So what happens is the moment credit card is swiped, and if she swipes it for 100 rupees, the grocery shop owner will only get 98 and a half rupees. Who takes that 1.5 rupee? That goes to the bank which has issued the card, and of course it gets shared amongst various ecosystem players. So the point I'm trying to make here is the moment a credit card or a debit card is used, okay, every time that credit card or debit card is swiped, the bank makes money. Now just take the same example into a UPI. So the moment you make a payment out of UPI to your Uber driver, to your grocery shop, does the bank earn anything, or you are paying 100 rupees gets debited from your account and the other person also gets 100 rupees? No. In case of UPI, the other person also gets 100 rupees. Unlike a credit card or unlike a debit card, the other person gets 100. So who gains, or how does somebody make money out of this proposition? So the answer here is that the operating app makes money. How do they make money? If 100 rupees is being paid by SR, so what her bank account gets debited with is 100 rupees. 100 rupees is what with the grocery shop owner's account gets credited. So where is the money to be made by the app? Okay, that's a good answer. So my dear friend, can I have your name please? Tushar. Sorry, you coordinated for me. So Tushar is saying that the number of days the app provider or the app owner will hold on to this money is one business proposition. Yes, that's one business proposition. While of course there is no charge on this, because 100 rupees gets debited from Asas's account, 100 rupees goes into the Kirana shop account, right? But somebody or the app will hold on to this money for 2 days, 3 days, 1 day, whatever it is, before being passed on to the Kirana shop owner, and there is money to be made on it. Anything else? No. As of now, there is no other profit proposition around it. As we evolve, the government, the NPCI, RBI have ensured that the cost of transaction, unlike a credit card or a debit card, I'm sure when all of you try to use a credit card, a lot of shop owners will tell you, boss, please don't pay me by credit card, please don't pay me by debit card, I'm absolutely okay if you UPI it. Have all of us witnessed this? The sole reason is because 100 rupees getting debited from the consumer's account, the seller gets 100 rupees. Whereas a credit card or debit card, there will be a cut. As we move ahead, this thing will also evolve. I'm not sure as to how they make this entire thing profitable. As of now, the government, the RBI is very clear that there will be no charges around this. But what comes along with this, when a Asas transacts on a UPI or a Tushar transacts on a UPI model, the application gets to know the spending habits, and accordingly they start cross-selling, right? I'm sure whenever they see that Asas is subscribing to mutual funds, you will see a lot of other mutual fund houses reaching you, or they will actually pop up on your screen, please invest in this, please invest in that. So of course these are ways of selling, and these are ways to keep the entire ecosystem profitable. Let's not debate whether it's right, wrong, that's a different argument altogether. Thanks Asas. Thanks. So I hope there are no other questions. Have been summed up on the screen. The first three functions, okay, which are handling or managing inflation levels within the country, okay, controlling the supply of money, okay, these two are linked to each other. So bear in mind the basic principle: the more and more the supply of money, the higher the inflation. The less the supply of money, or the less the money in the hands of every individual, lesser the inflation. This is the basic economic theory. So RBI uses certain tools to ensure that the inflation is under check and it does not go beyond a certain level. Next, of course, an important function of RBI is to ensure there is stability in the various conversion rates between currencies of various other geographies and currency of India. So they of course use tools like open market operations, or OMOs as they are referred to from RBI's parlance. Okay, so these three functions we will be elaborating upon. Other than this, as you all know, RBI is also a banker to various banks, banker to the government of India, it's a banker of the last resort, and last but not the least, RBI of course acts as the regulator for all banks and all financial institutions, all the application providers who provide UPI services or QR codes, all the NBFCs or small finance companies across the length and the breadth of the country, all of them are regulated by RBI. Whatever they do, of course, will be regulated. So recently, if all of you are aware, they are coming down heavily on something called P2P or peer-to-peer lending. So they see some practices which are not the best practices to be followed. So they are of course going to bring in some changes. So the point I am trying to make is, anything to do with finance, anything to do with money, RBI will be the regulator. Yeah, Komal, we can move to the next. So this is the last slide of the presentation, okay, where we try and sum up how RBI tries to achieve its goal of inflation targeting, control or ease out the supply of money. Okay, so what are the tools available? Are all of us aware what is a repo rate? Anybody? Can you use a mic, please? I could hear you, but I'm sure a lot of your colleagues or your friends could not. And your answer was bang on.
It's the rate at which the banks take loans from the RBI. That's repo rate.
And can you tell me, ma'am, why would a bank need to take a loan from RBI? All of us are enough to actually give enough money to any bank, right? So why would a bank need money from the RBI?
Overnight lending rate, short term.
Not, yeah, so it is an overnight lending rate. It can be a lending for 7 days, it can be a lending or a borrowing by banks from RBI for 14 days. It all depends. Okay, banks have their liquidity in various buckets. Okay, you raise an important point. So just imagine a bank's loan book. Okay, students have taken a 30-day personal loan. 20 tourists who wanted to go overseas have taken a 60 days loan. 50 students who wanted to pursue studies overseas have taken a 3-year loan. Okay, some parents who are into business have taken a 10-year term loan to set up a factory, or a Century Plywood or a Captain Steel has taken a term loan to set up a large plant and will be repaying it in 15 years. So what essentially comes out is the maturity profile of the various loans. Think of a bank's balance sheet. Okay, unlike other industries, the bank's balance sheet, the maturity profile of all its assets is different. It's in different buckets. Something maturing within 0 to 30 days, something from 30 to 90 days, something from 90 to 180, so on and so forth. Okay, So when you say that a bank has to borrow money from RBI at repo, it need not necessarily be overnight, it can be slightly longer also. Okay, thanks for the answers. So yeah, repo is the rate at which banks borrow money from RBI whenever they have a shortfall. And there are limits to it, not that banks can actually borrow any amount from RBI, there are limits around it. Okay, now take it back to your economics. I'm sure most of you must be pursuing economics as one of your subjects. So when do you think RBI will increase the repo rate and when do you think they will reduce it? Anybody?
At the time of inflation, they will increase the repo rate, and at the time of deflation, they will decrease the repo rate.
Absolutely, bang on your good name, sir.
Adarsh Kumar Mal.
Thanks, others. Great. And can you just elaborate the reason if the inflation is beyond a certain threshold or beyond the liking of the levels of RBI, they would increase the repo rate. By doing so, what are they doing?
So they are reducing the lending capacity of the banks, and there will be subsequently be more and more money available with the banks, but money supply will reduce to a certain extent.
Yeah, so they are sucking out liquidity. What happens is if the repo rate is high, okay, eventually the lending rate, okay, so I'll jump, okay, before we get into this, let's jump. What is the relation between a repo rate and a MC? All of you are aware what is an MCLR? If you have to go and borrow a loan from a bank today, any loan, be it a car loan, be it an education loan, be it a home loan, be it a personal loan, the rate of interest of that loan can either be linked to a repo or what is the other option? It can be linked to the MCLR. If you go to X bank, if you go to Y bank, if you go to Z bank, while the repo is one common rate across the country, MCLR for each and every bank is different. It is all a function of how efficient a bank is. The more efficient a bank is, the lower will be its MCLR. The less efficient a bank it is, the more will be its MCLR, right? Of course, MCLR will be a notch above the repo always, right? So when banks lend, they link their rates either to the repo rate or they link their rates to their own MCLRs. MCLR stands for marginal cost of lending rate, okay? So whenever banks give various type of loans to individuals, to small and medium enterprises, to large corporates, to large conglomerates, it's all linked to either repo or it's linked to their own respective MCLRs. So the moment a repo rate is increased by the RBI, what happens? The banks will respectively increase their MCLRs also. The moment MCLR increases, it will increase the cost of borrowing for all of us. And probably we might postpone a few of our planned expenditures. Something which is inevitable, something which is unavoidable might not get postponed, but we might postpone a lot of discretionary stuff. So essentially what happens is by doing so, RBI is trying to suck out liquidity from banks because banks will probably not lend money or they will not find avenues to lend money. Instead, they will park a lot of surplus with RBI because RBI also, while it lends money to banks, it also takes money as loans from banks whenever banks have surpluses. So that's the concept of repo and MCLR. And by MCLR transmission, what it means is RBI, by moving up the repo, ensures that the bank's MCLRs move up. RBI, by reducing the repo, also ensure that the MCLRs of the banks would come down. What exactly the repo rate today and what was the repo rate? Yeah. Okay, so the repo rate was as low as 4% during pandemic. So because of the pandemic, the demand was very low. So what RBI had to ensure is that the economy keeps moving. So to add fuel, what they did is they ensured that the rates are pretty low. So people borrow and borrow, people borrow and borrow, and people borrow and spend. But Subsequently, because of inflationary pressures over 2020, 21, 22, the repo rate kept moving up, and today it is at 6.5%. Around this 6.5%, okay, RBI also has one more concept of LAF corridor, or the liquidity adjustment facility corridor. To put it very simply, if a bank has to borrow money from RBI, they'll have to borrow it at repo. Okay, now borrowing at repo is only allowed up to a certain threshold. If the banks want to borrow beyond that, then RBI has allowed them one more window of MSF on marginal standing facility, which comes at 25 paisa higher than repo. Okay, I'll not get into the specifics as to when is this used, when is this not used. And last but not the least, there are two more tools. One is the cash reserve ratio, and one is the statutory liquidity ratio. So let's say a bank has total liabilities in the form of various deposits from consumers, corporates, SMEs of 1,000 crores. A certain portion of that, 4.5% to be precise. So 1,000 crores, 4.5, 45 crores, they will have to place with RBI as cash reserve ratio. And 18% of that 1,000 crores, which is 180 crores, they'll have to place in certain liquid securities which can be liquidated very easily. So around 22.5% of a bank's total liabilities are placed in either CRR or SLR to ensure that they don't overlend, and they have adequate liquidity in case depositors want their money back. So CRR and SLR are also tools which helps RBI in either ensuring more and more supply of money or less supply of money. If they increase the CRR and SLR, the supply of money by banks by way of loans will come down, and vice versa. So repo, MSF, CRR, SLR, all these are tools to ensure that RBI keeps managing liquidity the way they want to, keeping the overall inflation target in mind. And last, to ensure that the foreign exchange fluctuation is well within control, RBI keeps coming into the market and they buy dollars or they sell dollars. They buy pounds and they sell pounds. They buy euros and sell euros in the market, which they would otherwise not do if the overall conversion rates are stable. I think I'm broadly done, unless any one of you have any questions. One of you told me that you all are running short of time, so I'm more than happy to take the questions quickly, else you can conclude. Well, I think there are no queries, so thanks a lot and all the best for all your events. Please ensure that you have come out with brilliant ideas and excelled in excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful presentation during the final session today. Your expertise in financial management and the practical strategies you share has provided us with a deeper understanding of the subject. Your contribution has greatly enriched our knowledge. Now we are moving forward to our second session. A woman of experience, ambition, and dedication. Ms. Pallavi Roy is the Chief Marketing Officer of RSH Global, the 7th largest skincare company in India. Under her leadership, the brand empowers women to define beauty on their own terms. Challenging societal standards, Ms. Roy's illustrious career is marked by numerous accolades, including being named among the Impact Top 40 under 40 marketers in India, and being honored as the IndianTelevision.com Wonder Women 2023. Her expertise is further recognized through her participation as a juror for prestigious awards such as the FA India Awards 2022, the Emmy Awards, and the ET Brand Equity Shark Awards 2022. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Pallavi Roy, who will be conducting today's marketing session, where she will share her invaluable insights and strategies born from her extensive experience and success in the field. I request our volunteers to escort our speaker to the dais. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. This is my second year with all of you, and believe me, I just came. Last year's enthusiasm was very, very exciting. And the way you guys interacted just made me go back to my college days, and I felt, this is an experience I can't leave out this time as well. Not too much. What we'll do is, we're all aware of HULT and what exactly you guys have been doing for the last couple of years. First of all, round of congratulations to all of you. I have personally taken interest in going through some of the work that has been posted online. And this time I was thinking if I could reach out to somebody personally so that you can send across these case studies and the work that you've been doing. That will also help for us to keep sending it across to a lot of interns and all to come and join us. What is going to be today's session all about? Simple. We're going to keep it very practical. Two things. How many of you think that the discipline of marketing is necessary to run a business? Is it an important part? Just yes or no? Important part, right? Today's world, too much pressure on all of us. Social media marketing, TV, how many channels, how much of advertisement throughout the day on this device that all of us have, and otherwise, the wall paintings, the outdoors, the TV, the social media, 10 types of social media, digital, YouTube, OTT, tell me about it. All of us are actually saturated, right? The question now becomes a little important from the marketer's perspective. What do I choose? What do I do? What is important? Facebook, Twitter, outdoor hoarding, TV. What exactly should be my choice? How should I go about? Or is it just I can make a great packaging, I can put all the product descriptions, the ingredient, all my service details and put it out and let the consumer choose for themselves. So that kind of confusion and dilemma, I think, is heightened with every single day. Now, to bring context to that and just bring it as close to it, that what do we do as marketers right now and what is the biggest challenge that a marketer faces? That's one thing we'll address. And the other part is, as students, I don't know whether you guys feel it, but I, for a longest time, felt that what I'm reading in my books or my lectures are theory. How is it going to be practical? How am I going to apply this in a day-to-day life when I start working? So knowledge and application of knowledge. I've read a lot of theory, I don't know how to apply it. Now that was a very serious concern for me when I was a student. I used to keep thinking that, am I reading all these theories of all these professors and people, very, very veteran people, but I don't know how am I going to link it. Is this going to be of major use to me? Over the years, I think that is something I've been trying to do whenever I come and meet people, because I feel that's a constant piece of that I could put together. And how does some of the theories that we study or the material that we get in our books to study gets relevant into the day-to-day work that we do. Okay? So these are the two elements I put together, and let's see how we can turn around. 7 slides, every slide we discuss, and we'll keep it, we'll discuss and take it forward, okay? The first slide. What's the relevance of media in marketing? Can somebody say the difference between marketing in India, the difference between marketing abroad, and in general, what is the role of media in marketing? Any rough ideas, anything? What is media, according to you guys? Common word, right, guys? What do you understand by the word media, marketing? What is the difference, or whatever? What do you conclude out of these two words? Can anybody let me know? Okay. Too difficult to talk to me, not a pleasant face. What exactly could be the reason that nobody is able to give me or is willing to even have a discussion with me. You don't need to give me the right answer or anything on that sort. We could discuss. Oh, there. Somebody finally liked my face. Okay, great.
What name is, my name is Masroor Ahmed Bani.
Hi.
Roll number 100.
Oh, that's okay. You're just giving me details. I would like to know. Go ahead.
Media, my what name is media is, it is the plural of medium, meaning that we are like, anything we watch is media, on the television, voting, screen, anything is media. And the relevance of marketing is like you want to market your product, meaning people will see this and people will buy my product.
Okay. You almost got me to my second slide. Okay, a very, very important thing for anybody who wants to go ahead and pursue marketing. Now, in India and in abroad, there is a huge difference with the way we market ourselves. Why? Because of a sheer population. We are a country with a huge number of population. And therefore, in India, we take a lot of effort to use media, multi-mediums, and especially mass. Because when I say something like this to all of you right now, I could reach, say, about 200 of us here. The same thing when recorded and put down on YouTube can reach millions. Because in our country, at one go, we need to reach out to millions of people. So that is one of the very important difference between when you market something in India versus when you market something in other country which has not even 1/4 of our population. Okay. Also, marketing is not only about media. For example, how you package your product, how you package your services, what you write on it, how you display it. These are part of marketing. But a large part of the marketing propaganda is through media. And when we use various different mediums, okay, we call it media. So my second slide, as you said, can you just start it once more? Yeah, next slide. Okay, let's go back. I don't know why this is not done now. Okay, fair enough. So there are two ways to define it. Medium per se can also be something like, when you say medium, it could be a psychic. For example, you say that the light is traveling through this medium. But in context of marketing, when there are multi-channels used together, it is called media. Now, there is something that we need to today understand, that while you are marketing, when you talk about your product, that was always very important. But with evolving times, what we have realized is the choice of medium through which you're actually talking about your product has somehow become more important than what it was supposed to be. This was actually spoken about in the year 1960 by a professor called Marshall McLuhan. Can we go to the next slide? So he says, societies has always been shaped more by the nature of the media by which men communicate than the context of the communication. When he said this in 1960, people called him, "You're a fool. What are you talking about? Why do you think that what is carrying my communication has a larger impact than what I'm communicating? What relevance does it have?" Now, in 1960, when we had limited number of channels to communicate, he realized this, that as our society is going to evolve, the number of ways through which we can reach out to people will increase, and that will have an impact. Now, that time, he had given an example. He said, suppose there is a news of death in your family and it reaches to you by a telegram. He didn't talk about the media we're talking right now. The news is the same. When it reaches the other end, it will take 12 to 30 days to reach a telegram and all of that. And therefore, it is received after the event has happened. There is a time lapse. Now, imagine the same news once come to your loved ones through a telephone. when telephone got invented. And he said the message remains the same, but the way the message is being given to the other person, the reaction and the immediacy made a lot of difference. Can we go to the next slide? Okay. So he made this statement called the medium is the message. And in this context, if you look at today's world, where are we standing? How is it that these theories that I have given up, I'll leave you guys to read it later also. You can go to the next slide. Yes, this is the man I've been talking about. And the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. The next slide. 1 minute. Next slide, please. No, there's one more slide before this, I'm sorry. Go before. Okay, we'll leave it here and we'll talk. So, currently the situation is such. Let's take a live example. If you see, at every time of the day, when you have the phone in hand, you will see suddenly a message popping up, are you hungry? You have a sandwich ready for the next, before you take your class. Again, you will see during your tea break, there will be another message that pops up to you. Now, the content of the message is very simple. It is not something very radical that is coming to you. But the way the data has been tracked and your time has been tracked and the number of platforms that you're using, you see a constant pop-up. Now, if you look at 10 years back, when digitization was not at its peak, we had a certain ad that was made. You made a product, you made an ad, you displayed it on newspaper, you displayed it on outdoor, and there was a gestation period, and you also had TV. Once that revolution happened, the next set of revolution became the interactive revolution, which is basically all about your social media, which is going to be all about the digital space, where every movement of your day-to-day journey is being tracked. And if you look at the kind of communication that comes to you from a brand which is lending out a service for food, which is maybe talking about, card services, or it could be an insurance services, or it could be some products that we have seen, it's a very simple message. And also, to a large extent, it is the medium that is dictating the message. What do we say these days? Nobody has more attention than 10 seconds, right? The Gen Zs, do not have attention more than 10 seconds. So however good your content or your product that might be, or whatever you would not want to tell to your consumer, you have to finish it in 10 seconds because the medium dictates that way. The point is, as marketers today, when we stand, in 1960, what has been taught to us by this professor, saying, listen, there will be a day where content will no more be the king. What will be the king is the choice of the medium through which you want to reach out to your consumers. And the medium is going to dictate the kind of messaging that you need to do in order to ensure that your product and services is marketed well ahead of your competition. So therefore, in today's world, as a marketer, one of the biggest challenges that all of us are facing and will face further is the fragmentation of the entire media landscape. There are too many, and there will be many more ways of reaching out to your consumer. What is important is to go back to the basics and understand and study every medium and media with all its detailed positives and what it lends that the other person does not lend. What this platform has to give me rather than what the other platform does not give me. And therefore, there has to be a strategic, comprehensive plan. And you will have to go by the fact that what will be your first choice of medium, followed by the next medium, and followed by the third medium. If until and unless you are able to make comprehensive understanding of the mediums in general, it will get very difficult for you to reach out to the correct cohorts that you have identified. Anything right now that we can stop and discuss? Anything that you think it has not been well well described to you? Any kind of apprehensions with the logic that's been set in front of you? Right? Anything that we want to discuss when it comes to the marketing elements that you guys use on your day-to-day life, or the projects that you are doing where you think there is a scope where you want to discuss something in social media, in digital?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon.
My name is Raj Paul, and I wanted to ask that, suppose I have a business. So, how will I market my own product, and what key areas should I focus for my business to grow?
If you are starting a business, depends upon what kind of business you want to start. A, is it a product driven? Is it a service driven? What are you trying to sell?
What I am trying to say is, suppose
Sell. What is your product?
a service driven product.
Okay. Service in what sector?
Any sector.
Okay. So that's a very vast thing. Very basics in mind. You have to identify who your consumers are. Right? For example, you will do a dipstick, or you will have in mind if you are making a female-centric product or a male-centric product, or maybe a service that is for aged people, or maybe service which is for children. Identifying your consumer is the first step toward knowing who do you think is in need. So how do you come up with your product? You come up with your product if there is a product fitment, if there is a need for the product, or you create a need for the product. Then you are obviously you will have clarity in mind, who are you making this product for? Who are you trying to solve for, right? Or who are you generating the demand for? Once you know that these are the kind of people who I'm solving for, or I'm creating the demand for, or are going to buy my services, that's when you start studying their behavior. Their behavior in general, what do they do? And from behavior, you start getting into the details of their media consumption habits. Once you do that, that is when you go back and start planning that, okay, if this is my consumer, and if this is my customer, and their daily habits are of this nature, and if their daily habits are like this, and their media habits are like this, then these are probably the areas through which I will be able to reach out to them with my product or service. It's a comprehensive approach, but since you are not able to identify the particular service that you are talking of, I leave it at the top like that. These are some basic rules that you follow.
So suppose let's take your company. So what have you focused on marketing that it became the seventh largest company, beauty product company?
Right. So for us, our core consumers are women, right? So we try to identify the way women's age group is also important, and of course geographies. We have some of the geographies where we're doing pretty well in terms of distribution and sales, and that is the place where we focus. So we identify our P1, P2 markets. That's the geographic way of identifying. The next thing is you identify your cohorts. Okay, are you going to target female from the age group of say 16 to 30 or 35? If this is the group that I have, then we do a back study to see how they are behaving. Okay, what are the media consumptions that they have? Once we start making a plan, and this is like a very basic way of starting to plan, and then you get into deeper sides of which are the mediums that you're using. If I'm using a social media, then what are the handles? There is an economic structure also that you study. Okay, then what kind of people am I reaching out to? Because, and give a simple example. If you're using TV as a medium, okay, you know the female-centric programs that we have ad over there. Now let's cut down to the geographies, which I think my sales and distribution is doing pretty well. That also makes, the plan and my marketing money is more effective. Then the third part of it is economically. If I am trying to sell a very high-end product and I know my consumers are slightly should be above the range of this much of consumption habit should be, I probably do it in the HD channels. But if I see that my consumers are generic consumers, mass consumer, and they probably wouldn't want to shell more than 200 rupees on 100-gram cream, then I probably will avoid the HD televisions and go for more of the SD standard definition channels that are available, the Star Pluses of the world, where there's a female appointment viewership happening. If I'm targeting the young women, I try to have the Star Plus, along with that some of the youth channels as well. I target them through Facebook as well, I target them through Instagram as well. So it's a comprehensive way of planning.
Thank you for answering my question. Thank you so much.
Anything else? Yes.
Yes, the point is that you have mentioned about the.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I am Mudit Khemka. So, ma'am, basically my question was, we all know that marketing is very required in this modern world. But ma'am, I hope you have all heard the name of Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm.
So, ma'am, basically I believe that their marketing structure is very basic. As we all know, the most common media that in our life is television. But they tend to not advertise themselves on television.
Right.
And their marketing model is quite basic, I think so. Still they are doing so good in sales. That's their brand name is totally maintained.
Right.
So ma'am, what is your view on that?
Absolutely. So, like I said, there are different segments of marketing. Lamborghini also does marketing, but what they do is they don't use mass media. See, you don't need to sell 1 lakh unit of Lamborghini to make profits. You have to understand at the end of the day, marketing is a tool that should support your business. So then building the aspiration is something that they look forward for. If they sell 5 in a year, they will still have a P&L which will look positive. So the product that you make, okay, the ticket size, the kind of sales that you want to withdraw. So if you're a mass maker, you need to sell more in order to make your margins. If you're not into mass game, but you're into a niche game, then you play on the cost pricing. And for that, what really works is referral marketing, where you actually, so a lot of luxury goods actually do that, the LVs of the world. So for example, Ferrari. Like Lamborghini, in Ferrari, what they do is, after the base range of Ferrari, you can't buy a Ferrari even if you have the money. You just can't. Why? Because they make it very aspirational. They only invite certain people. You come, and if the Ferrari family feels that you should be owning this league of Ferrari, it's only then you get it. Now that is also playing with human psychology, right? How you make it aspirational, how you make it that I should stand out amongst the rest. And through reference is the only way you want to market your product. So luxury products have a very different way of marketing than mass products.
For example, Lamborghini itself says that the people who can buy Lamborghini doesn't sit in front of you.
Right, absolutely. They really do. They're so busy just flying from one place to another. Why would they advertise on TV? So every category of product that you make has to have an aura, a personality that you want to develop. And that does not only come from one aspect of showing a great ad. It is the look, as I said, marketing per se is the look, the feel, the color, the product, the way you display it, everything, the personality that you make develop for that particular product. Media marketing is a part of marketing where you actually need in order to reach out. So what?
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
The point is that you have mentioned the 10 seconds attention gap during the evolution of social media.
Right.
But even before the social media, there was TV, and there was relax. So can that be same apply to the same thing also? I mean, yes, of course, in social media we can speak ads, but as in TV, so I mean,
other than that, using platforms like LinkedIn, having a profile which will differentiate you from the similar product services that you are lending on. These are the ways you can connect the B2B world.
Thank you.
Yes, my question is that can market be? My name is Masroor.
Yeah.
Don't know my name. Yes. So my question is, if we are going up against an unstoppable force like Coca-Cola, it can, in that case, can our marketing be detrimental to us because we are already up against such a strong?
Nothing can be detrimental to your own growth until unless your product is detrimental to your consumers. We're talking of being a challenger brand, right? When you're starting off, how do you go about it? I joined my organization when it was a nascent trading house at 75 crore. I've been working and taking up against the HUs of the world. We are 600 crore in the last 9 years. So, it's not just marketing, it's about a lot of things, mainly about your product, how you understand your consumer, how well you are distributed, and how well you are marketed. Now see, this is a very, very deep subject. It would be very unfair for me to just leave it at that, but I can tell you something that industry varies. What you're talking of is a beverage industry, and FMCG and beverage, not only it's about marketing, but it's also about the distribution that you can handle. So it is the backbone of such industries is how well you're able to distribute your product, followed by how uniquely you'll be able to address your consumers. One small tip could be when you go up against established players, it is good to go in India, it is good to go state-wise because India has many Indias inside us. A north of India is very different from a south of India, from the east of India and the west of India. So suppose you can identify one of the weaker markets of the established brand, and you study that market with a lot more nuances, which is very local to that particular area, and you come up with communication, use a lot of local medium, and make a great product that suits them. That could be one way of handling, going up against the established players. You can break down your market strategy and get into one or two markets at a time. That will also help you to utilize your marketing monies in a more effective way. Right? Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, my name is Ronald Dunn and I'm a student of first year MCOM. And suppose now I'm trying to make a venture or a startup which has both features of Practo, which provides healthcare services, and urban company which provides grooming services and other services including. So for the initial stages which I have not yet made an environment for that product, so in order to advertise those products into the masses, suppose I have taken Instagram, which is a short media content media, where I want to make reels and provide an advertising platform to that. So how can we hack the algorithm of Instagram? Because suppose if we want to make reels, there is a possibility of those reels to reach out to the masses, and there is a possibility of not reaching out to the masses, right? So how can we get to use the algorithm of Instagram? How can we understand the algorithm of Instagram? For example, suppose a 6 p.m. reel reaches more masses, and a morning or a midday or a midnight reel reaches a much lesser audience. So how can we use the algorithm in order to increase our mass reaching?
Right. So you're talking about a product that you want to start initiating it on Instagram to promote it, right? That's the starting menu. You just want to use Instagram to start with your
I've taken an example of Instagram since
Right. So I'll tell you something very practical that again all of us are facing this. Meta and Google, the two big giants, they're constantly changing and developing new things. You literally have to be one of the employees of them to all keep knowing what's new happening there. So the algorithms are often tweaked in order to restrain the kind of reach that you have for you to spend more money, because there was a time when Instagram reels organically had a huge reach. Now if you go about, if you look at these days, that reach has been curbed. Hacking the algorithm to an extent is all about practicing and seeing where exactly what is working out for you. But eventually I can tell you something, that if you want to go for a higher reach, you will have to ensure that you spend some amount of money in the platform. Otherwise it's difficult to envisage the kind of reach that you're expecting. Because they are constantly developing that. To ensure, whenever they see that, okay, this particular thing, feature is getting lapped up by people, they tweak that feature a bit. The algorithm is also tweaked so that the reach maximization can happen when they can capitalize on the brands and their spends. Yeah.
May I ask you a question, ma'am?
Sure, certainly.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
I'm
afternoon.
30%, and the way you spoke, presented, you sort of became my role model.
That's quite that's a big. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Even living for a 40 years old to hear that from you guys, it's the biggest high of my life. Next 7 days, I'll be just. I am taking this back. Yes, please tell me.
Okay, as you said, our marketing or message depends on the medium of media that we are choosing. So a few weeks back, there was a Microsoft outage, like completely shutting down. And we've also seen Instagram, WhatsApp shutting down for an entire night. So if a person just starting a business, like a newbie, should they be concerned if the online services are no longer available, or do they need a physical form of backup for marketing, as you said?
Every service or brand will have its journey. Now imagine at that point of time, you have to start thinking that if I had launched this 40 years back and 30 years back, and I didn't have all this medium, what would I do? Right? So today, reaching out to people is easier. Prior to this, we connected easier because we connected through the web world, right? Our habits have changed. So it might get very difficult thinking today that how am I going to even, the whole existence of not having a phone at the drop of a hat to call somebody and give that information is weird to even think for us today. And that was not the case 20 years back. People still existed. People still socialized. There were still communities. There was still marketing and it was done. But what is easy for us today is that we have become like a global village. Okay? So for example, I'm a coffee lover today. Okay? I like having my coffee. If I were I'm the same person 15 years back, and if I had to gather and discuss about coffee, then I always had to find people around me who are physically available to discuss about coffee. And which would be less people in number, not necessarily all of us are the same. But today, if I share the same passion, I can get connected to somebody sitting in Kenya through a virtual world talking about coffee. Right? So that is the difference that has happened. So if you are launching a product today and suddenly all of a sudden the entire ecosystem of the digital world is evaporated, and it will get evaporated not only for you, for the rest of the world as well. Then we have to start thinking what we would do as a solution 15 years back. But if it is happening exclusively for you, then that's a big concern that why am I not able to use this platform? But these platforms and what it has done to us, it has democratized the art of reaching out to people. What does democratization mean? It has democratized data also. When you read a data, when you see the number, when you are seeing an algorithm, you are able to read it and say, okay, so from this point of time, this segment of people interact with the internet with this kind of content, and they are constantly watching, and they are the same people who also buy the product from, say, a Flipkart. So this entire element of numbers and clicks and views, all that you're seeing, is giving you a picture of the way this particular person is behaving. And what we do is we use that data to democratize myself. Now, it's not now only limited to a few high-end brands. It is available to all of us. So what we can do is we can use this power, democratize ourselves, and reach out to most number of people. So the social media and the digital intervention in our life has helped us to democratize this entire segment and start ourselves into a position where we can express and reach out to people, communities who think alike. So now you are easily, you can access the product that you have made, you can put it across to that community who would probably want to be associated with that product or would consume that product or would interact with that product. That is easier. But if that happens, that suddenly all of this goes out, it will be for the entire, for all of us. Then probably we have to go back and think from 15 years back, if it was not there, how would I market it? It would be slower. It would not remain a global village. It will be more like a smaller community around you through which you have to start. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think I'm done for the day's session. Lovely meeting all of you. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am, for leading an engaging and informative session on marketing. Your insights and brand and market engagement are giving fresh perspectives and actionable ideas that we can apply in our work. We are grateful for the clarity and depth of the presentation and appreciate the knowledge of importance. Now we move forward with the first speaker session. Dr. Shubhra is the Group Chief Human Resources Officer at Captain Steel India Limited, bringing over 20 years of comprehensive experience in HR, including strategy HR, compensation, staffing, compliance, and legal. He holds a master's degree in human resource management and employment. His expertise encompasses talent acquisition, HRIS implementation, data analysis, and employee engagement. In addition to his corporate role, Mr. Mukherjee serves as a board member and trustee of various trusts and is actively involved with the NHRD in Korea chapter. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mukherjee, who will be conducting today's HR session, where he will share his extensive knowledge and insights into effective HR practices and strategies. This session promises to provide valuable guidance on the management and organizational development. I request the coordinators to escort us to the dais. Over to you, sir.
Thank you to the administrative body of the college. Thanks to all the professors, the dignitaries, the speakers, and finally, a big thanks to the entire student community. Just to add, I'm a same college pass out. I'm a 2000 BCom pass out from Xavier's College, so that makes me feel even better when I come and speak here. So I spent 3 years in this campus, so I was just discussing before it. So at morning college, so it was home at that time, I only used to have the morning shift. So I had great experience. So I have not made this presentation all of you is the evolving face and the facet of HR in today's world. Interacting one of the students, he was asking sir whether I should take marketing or HR in my master's in my BCom. So I wanted to say that HR overall. So when I started my career in HR, it was very different. After I did my MBA from XLRI, I started my career. I have worked with companies like Tata Steel, I have worked with companies like TCG, and have worked across 3 continents: Europe, America, as well in a Kolkata-based steel company, a Federal Alliance company. When I started my career as a labor welfare officer. So during those times, this is very important for people who really want to understand if you want to make a career in HR. At that time, compliances, hiring was the 2 most important, and payroll processing was a very, very 3 most important facet that an HR person should be doing. You'd work for 20-30 years and will get to a rank of a general manager, and then we'll have a nice swearing out ceremony before you retire. That's how HR is to look in India, especially. I have worked when I worked in Germany. It's a pure face business driven role with a PLN accountability to anybody who is manager or above. So I'm not comparing with the Western world. I'm just talking about how HR looks in the Indian context. Maybe last 10 years, 12 years, there are a lot of facets that has come out. Like for example, HR analytics is one of the most fastest growing HR subdivision that is coming up. So nowadays, people from statistics honors, from data science. In fact, in my team, I have somebody who is a statistician, so he throws me datas which are linked to more impact on business PLM. So that is one big area that has come up. Then there is a field on legal compliances, because nowadays, working in India itself, you have to know a lot of compliances. So the legal and the compliances part has thrown a subdivision area in HR. The third, very important, which has come out very recent times. In fact, Mr. Sen touched upon. I just wanted to say a few lines on that. ESG, environmental social governance. So now, so it's a new field in HR where most of the top companies with turnover of 1,000 crore and above is they are. You have to have an ESG cell, and you have to comply to all the ESG compliances, whether it's afforestation, whether it's the temperature change, whether it also relates to health, safety, and security. Previously, it was an I wish, because only factories with 1,000 crore and above turnover required it. However, having said that, very soon it is getting attached to Companies Act. So when it becomes when it gets attached to Companies Act, it's a must done thing for all the companies. So maybe probably 1,000 crore and above company, a factory unit producing or exporting will has to comply all the facets of an ESG. Now, the final one more role which has very recently evolved also is the HR business partnering role. So when I say HR business partnering, so generally in a business there are 3 parts. One is the top line, which is your revenue. One is your middle line, which is your cost, which includes your employee cost, which includes your branding, advertising, all other costs, which also includes your office infrastructure, your internet, your technology, and everything. Out of which, if you go into, and the bottom line is a profit or a loss. So if you look into this, there are three types of categories of companies broadly. One is manufacturing, two service industries, which include finance, which includes technology companies, and the third is product-based, innovation-based companies. So I'm taking into consideration the second and the third category of company, where in your middle line, more than 60% of your cost is only manpower cost. Rest maybe a little bit of technology, maybe a little bit of infra cost. It can go up to 80%. So why I'm mentioning this is HR has to be now the HR role which has been evolving. It requires a lot of commercial understanding. It requires a lot of what will I say? A middle line costing understanding. It requires a lot of other understandings which generally previously in India it was not used to happen. So HR professionals used to just roll on the sleeves and understand manpower hiring and go. But no, today it's not the scenario. You have to understand production. In a manufacturing organization where I work, I am a part of the production committee. So I have to analyze every day that what is the contractual manpower that is required, what is the overall white collar manpower required to bring the production cost at the helm of affairs. Because if 50% of the above cost in the middle line is your manpower cost, then you are the primary decision maker. You have to understand top retention, retain your people, you have to analyze data, you have to use HR analytics. So these are the new things which has evolved out in very recent times, in the last 7 to 10 years. Trust me, in my 23 years of career, the first 10 years, it was tougher with because it was not, we never used to get into the PLM activities and other parts. The last 13, 14 years, it's been very, very tough because every day, as you go up in the HR ladder, you are accountable for the profit and loss of the company. You are accountable for the...
And Mr. EXHULT'24, senior faculty and mentor time to
देख आ रहा होगा ये वाला नहीं अल्ट्रा चल रहा है कहाँ बैठा है हमको बैठना है थोड़ा सा
Thank you, sir. You now have the
Yeah, good afternoon everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, before we start, let us introduce ourselves. Okay, so could you? Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is EXHULT' 24. I was born and brought up here in Kolkata. Did my schooling here in Kolkata. Post that, I did my B.Tech from IEM Kolkata, which is in Salt Lake, Sector 5. Okay, this was back in 2011-15. Post that, I worked with a company called Ericsson. Anybody here who has heard of Ericsson? Anyone? Sony Ericsson phones, anybody has heard of it? Okay, so it's a networking company. I worked there for 1.5 years. After that, I did my PGDM, my MBA in Human Resource Management from EXHULT'24 Jamshedpur. How many of you have heard of that? This college, EXHULT'? Previous college? Okay. So I did my MBA there in HR. After that, I worked for around another 1.5 years with a company called Publicis Sapient as the HR strategist partner. Worked on some excellent projects. And then I started teaching during the weekends, and I decided that I'll be a full-time faculty with time. And I've been associated with time for the past around 3 years. So,
yeah, so my name is Siddharth Malik. I'm also an engineer. I did my engineering from IIT BHU. Post that I did MBA from IIM Calcutta. So I'm sure IIM Calcutta, like most of you will be knowing since you are from Calcutta. Post that lecture, I also have an experience. I worked in Samsung. Udaan is a startup. I don't know, like startup these days are a buzzword. It's a unicorn. And then I was working in UPL also, and presently I am also part of Time Kolkata team. I am the center director and running all the 3 centers. We have 3 centers there. And we both Indra and I both are attending. We take classes also, and we are working at Time Kolkata. Okay? So moving ahead, how many of you know like what is the topic of today's session?
is everybody comfortable with both English as well as Hindi? Dono ke saath comfortable? Okay, yes. Because we'll keep switching.
Yeah. So what is the topic? Like it's there on the board. Group discussion. So what is a group discussion? How many of you are aware about it?
How many of you have been part of any group discussion in school, during college?
So I've been told these areas if you want to join any club, then you have to go through a GD. Is it true? तो सबने GD एक्सपीरियंस किया होगा क्लब के पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए अप्लाई तो किया ही होगा राइट सो यू ऑल आर अवेयर अबाउट GD राइट सो व्हाई इज GD इंपॉर्टेंट मतलब अपार्ट फ्रॉम गेटिंग इनटू क्लब और कहां-कहां GD यूज होता है IIMs एंट्री के लिए अगर आपको MBA कॉलेज ज्वाइन करना है तो फर्स्ट स्टेप इज यू विल हैव टू गिव एग्जाम कॉल्ड CAT राइट बट ओनली clearing CAT will not lead you into an IIM. Post that there is a round of GDPI round, right? You have to go to GD and then you have to go to PI.
क्या होता है? Yes.
Apart from that, बहुत सारी companies भी जो आती हैं placement के लिए, they conduct GD in the college, right? For example, it was written, I worked in Samsung, I got placed in Samsung from IIM Calcutta. So Samsung when came in campus in IIM Calcutta, उन्होंने GD conduct करा, right? So GD is required to get into a company also, to join a B school also. So it's a very important kind of a skill which you should have कि आप GD को अच्छे से crack कर सकते हैं.
So both graduation and post graduation के जो भी placements होते हैं, दोनों में GD होता है, and company के placements में you have GD rounds, which are basically elimination rounds, and during your summer internship also, आप जब MBA करने जाते हो, किसी भी course में internship के time जो companies placement के लिए आते हैं, they also conduct GD. Okay, so it's an extremely integral part of your prepping. So moving on, we now know कि कहाँ GD होता है. Now the question is, why is a GD conducted? Companies, B schools, different colleges, why do they conduct GD?
Any answer? Yeah. There's a hand there. Can you forward a mic? Something to them.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I believe that GD is conducted for an individual to test if he could present himself in front of a crowd during a discussion and if he could influence them and make them agree to their points and prove himself to be worthy of leading a group. Okay. Addressing the other participants, making sure your points are heard, convincing them that your point is more relevant, and showcasing that you have the leadership. These are the points. Yeah.
Really good.
Quite
so
nice.
He has covered some 3-4 points. Are there other things also which are observed when you are giving the GD? thinking. Okay, that is also a very good point. Anything else?
So you have to understand one thing, these are excellent points, but you also have to understand these are some of the things that you are tested on. The question is, why are you tested on these? ठीक है? इन चीजों को क्यों टेस्ट किया जा रहा है? Yes? You can say it out loud.
To make the decision better, much better.
You can
To make the decision much better.
make the decisions that are being taken much better. Yes, it's about decision making. You have to understand the reason GDs are conducted where people are talking in a group is because जब आप corporate पे जाओगे, everything that you are doing will happen in teams. ठीक है? There is nobody who is working in silo. आपके कंपनी से जितने भी decisions हैं, आपके प्रोजेक्ट में आप जिस प्रोजेक्ट में काम कर रहे हो वहां पे any kind of decision is taken after a meeting that happens within the team. So almost your entire corporate life is going to be you discussing different points with the teams, coming up with solutions, weighing those solutions and then taking a decision.
So एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं, मैगी सब खाते हैं, मैगी का प्राइस 10 रुपए होगा, 12 रुपए होगा, 15 रुपए होगा या 10 रुपए में 50 ग्राम मिलेगा या 60 ग्राम मिलेगा, ये कोई 1% डिसाइड करता होगा? इट इज स्मॉल डिसीजन. कितनी मैगी बिकती होगी इंडिया में? 50 ग्राम का आपने अगर 45 ग्राम भी किया, it will have huge impact. Are these small decisions? So when these decisions are taken in a company, right, all the senior folks will be sitting together. One person will be from the marketing team, one will be from the accounting team. They together will sit and then they will come to one decision and then finally that price and site will come out. Right? So to be in that meeting, to come out at a conclusion, it will require you to be a team player. Okay?
So so more or less we have an understanding why companies conduct GD, what are they trying to test, those points have also been covered. Now I think I saw around 25-30% of you have already been part of some GD or the other previously. So I think most of you are aware that एक GD में होता क्या है, okay? But still I'll reiterate it. So in a GD basically you have a moderator, ठीक है? A moderator का काम क्या होता है? Work of a moderator basically topic देना, ठीक है, and making sure that the people, the participants, कौन क्या बोल रहे हैं उसको note down करना, okay? So what is the moderator looking for? ठीक है, moderator is looking for candidates who are focused on the topic and getting the solution for that particular scenario rather than making sure that the person themselves get highlighted among others. You must have experienced, some of you must have experienced in GD कि there are some certain people जो 15 मिनट के GD में 10 मिनट खुद बात करते हैं, ठीक है?
Is it good?
Yeah. Is it good?
15 मिनट की GD में 10 मिनट बात करना, is it good? Yes. How many think it is good? How many persons are there in GD? Like GD का normal group size क्या होगा? 7 to 8.
Can be more as well.
10, 12, 10 is like kind of 8, 6 to 10 is something. So out of 15 minutes, if you are talking 10 minutes, is it good? How many of you think it is good? Why so? So in a team, you should dominate. Yeah. Oh, but I don't know, but it's not good. Out of 15 minutes, if you are talking 10 minutes, it will not reflect good attributes of behavior on your part. Because then it will show that you are a very I kind of a person, not a us kind of a person.
So again, you have to understand what is the objective here. Okay, group discussion में तुमको एक टॉपिक दिया जाता है. Imagine yourself in a corporate scenario. तुमको एक टॉपिक दिया गया है, तुम लोग डिस्कस करने आए कि a particular
product, should it be launched into a new market or not? Okay, somewhere which is unexplored. So when you are taking those decisions.
Again, I'm just सर बोला है न्यू प्रोडक्ट नए मार्केट में लॉन्च करना है कि नहीं करना है, राइट? सैमसंग कोई फोन मान लो चाइना में अच्छा चल रहा है, नाउ दे आर थिंकिंग टू लॉन्च इट इन इंडिया और नॉट, राइट? वेदर इट विल वर्क इन इंडियन मार्केट और नॉट, यू कैन थिंक फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव.
So you need to listen to people who have been working in the Indian market. You have to also talk to people about the technology and how it aligns with the people of India. उनका डिमांड्स क्या है, ठीक है? यहाँ पे लोगों को बड़े स्क्रीन चाहिए, या फिर बैटरी लाइफ चाहिए, या फिर फास्ट चार्जिंग चाहिए, या फिर कैमरा अच्छा चाहिए, ठीक है? अलग अलग मार्केट में अलग अलग डिमांड्स है. You cannot have something which is successful in one market and that will also work in the other market. So dominating a GD in such a scenario would be detrimental because आप अपने पर्सपेक्टिव से सामने ला रहे हो, but our objective of a GD is to notice people who have this focus कि हमको इस फोन को लॉन्च करना है कि नहीं मार्केट में. I have to launch this phone in the market or not, so I need proper information, ठीक है? और information आएगा when you have everybody's opinion on the table, ठीक है? तो you have to make sure कि everybody gets time to speak. Number 2, you have to have that balance कि if you have said something which ultimately shows that that was not the correct approach, you also have the decency to say कि हाँ ठीक है, this approach looks better. Okay, so I think we should go with this approach because your goal is to make good decisions for the company, not for yourself. Okay, so these aspects are something that gets highlighted when you do a GD. Okay, तुमको ये समझ आना चाहिए कि अगर तुम्हारा ऑब्जेक्टिव क्लियर नहीं है कि तुमको सॉल्यूशन जो प्रॉब्लम दिया गया है उसके सॉल्यूशन पे पहुंचना है, ठीक है? देन दैट विल गेट यू नेगेटिव पॉइंट्स विद द मॉडरेटर, ठीक है? अब कुछ जगह पे कुछ कंपनीज में आप बोल सकते हो जो मॉडरेटर्स हैं, तो मॉडरेटर्स आर नॉट स्किल्ड इनफ. ओके, एंड मॉडरेटर्स देखते हैं कि अच्छा ये बंदे ने 5 मिनट बात किया, इस बंदे ने 2 मिनट बात किया, तो इन दोनों को ले लेते हैं. बट दैट डज नॉट हैपन इन द कंपनीज वेयर यू आर एस्पायरिंग टू बी. ओके, अगर आप कंसल्टिंग कंपनीज में जाना चाहते हो, इफ यू आर प्लानिंग टू गेट इनटू गुड बी स्कूल्स, ठीक है? वहां पे जो मॉडरेटर्स होते हैं वो ये एस्पेक्ट्स को नोटिस करते हैं. क्लियर?
We said 15 minutes में 10 मिनट बोलना अच्छा नहीं है. Is reverse is to 8 मिनट भी नहीं बोलना? Is it good or not? Being quiet, is it good? No, why? Because you're not contributing anything, right? So you have to find that equilibrium in between, that sweet spot. कि आपको बोलना भी है, but it should not be too much कि सिर्फ आप ही बोले और आप किसी और को बोले नहीं जरूर, right?
Okay. Next thing, coming to the content itself. Okay. Should you start the GD? Yes, no. If you're starting, what should you say? GD में? So scenario है, moderator आया है. Moderator has given a topic to those who are involved in the GD, and maybe they've given 1.5 minutes to you to write down the points. Okay. And the time is over. 1.5 minutes over here. So should you be the one starting the GD? If yes, what is it that you're supposed to say, and what are the things that you should be avoiding when you're starting the GD? Anyone? Yes. Okay. Well, it's a high risk, high reward scenario actually. If you're starting the particular topic, then there are certain responsibilities that you have. Okay, if you are mentioning those things, then starting the GD will give you a huge advantage. But if you have said something which will derail the GD after some time, then वहाँ पे तुमको negative points आ सकते हैं. ठीक है? तो I'll give you an example. Topic कुछ, ठीक है? तो कोई topic अगर तुमको दिया गया है, for example, कि was demonetization a good decision? Are we seeing its effects now? Or current policies in certain companies are discriminating towards certain people, ठीक है? तो इस टाइप के अगर टॉपिक्स है, वहाँ पे तुमको 1.5 minutes दिया गया है, तुमने स्टार्ट किया, हाय माय नेम इज इंदर चोपड़ा, I feel that the demonetization was not good because of this. This is one of the
So is it a good start? What's your mention now? The topic is demonetization. Sir said it was not good because this is the reason. So is it a good start? Why? But why? He is giving some points also. He is giving a reasoning behind why it was not a good decision. So still it is a good start.
I think let's give a second scenario as well. Let's give a second approach and maybe everybody understand it. So okay, again I have the same topic and now again I am starting. So hi everyone, my name is Indar Chopra. The topic that is given to us is whether demonetization was a good decision and whether we are seeing its effects right now. I think this is a very tricky topic. So what we can do is, first let us talk about what exactly is demonetization. Second, let's talk about what were the benefits of demonetization and what were its objectives. Second, let's talk about the demerits, what was the immediate adverse effects of it, and then let's look at it in a 5-year and a 10-year time limit and see whether the effects are better or not. Now, can you tell me which beginning was better? कौन सा starting सही था?
Yeah, there is a hand. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to understand कि जब आप GD start करते हो, ठीक है? You have to give a structure to the GD. अगर आपने GD को structure नहीं दिया, तो आपका GD fish market हो जाएगा. Is anybody aware what is a fish market? भसक जो होती है, ठीक है? सब बात कर रहे हैं, कोई चिल्ला रहा है, discussion कहीं नहीं जा रहा है, ठीक है? So if you are starting the GD, you have the responsibility to give a particular framework to the entire discussion. तुम्हारा GD कितने देर का होगा? 15 मिनट 20 मिनट का होगा. Okay? If you are somebody who understands that if you want to reach a particular solution, if you want to reach a particular discussion, you have to make sure that all the different points are getting touched upon, and then तुम्हारे पास time है उनको weigh करने का, and then lastly if you have some certain kind of conclusion, you reach the conclusion as well. तो अगर सारे points discuss नहीं हुए हैं, तो the entire GD fails. So as a person who is beginning the GD, you have to make sure you say कि this is the topic which is given to you. Now a topic like moonlighting, ठीक है? Imagine करो तुमको एक topic दिया गया है moonlighting का. How many of you know the meaning of moonlighting? यहाँ पे कितने लोग हैं जिनको moonlighting के बारे में पता है? Just a raise of hands. You don't have to raise of hands. Know the meaning of moonlighting. It was a huge topic just 2 to 3 years back.
During COVID, it became. Nobody knows about moonlighting. Part-time job, okay, but be a bit more specific. Part-time job is a partial answer. Yes, it's the correct answer. What he said, COVID में what happened? Lot of companies started giving work from home. So let's say if you are working in Infosys और आप work from home कर रहे हो, work from home में आपको 2-3 घंटे ही काम करना पड़ रहा है. आप ऑफिस जाते हो तो आपको 9 घंटे में रोकते हैं. तो रिमेनिंग टाइम में आप कहीं और जॉब करने लगते हैं, रात में या किसी और टाइम में. So you are working in one company, but still you join some other company and you are working at 2 different. So that is a movie.
Now, if you are having a discussion on moonlighting, whether it was ethical, unethical, should it be allowed, okay? अगर panel में more than 70% of the people do not even know the definition of moonlighting, will it be a healthy discussion? Will it be a discussion which will give you certain points, talking points, अगर meaning ही नहीं पता है, ठीक है? So, as somebody who starting the GD, तुम्हारा responsibility भी होता है कि जो topic आप briefly के बारे में बताओ, so that everybody who is part of the GD now becomes aware कि अच्छा ये topic है and they can come up with more points. ठीक है? That is the objective of this GD कि तुम conclusion पे properly पहुंच रहे हो, वो path में तुमने properly set किया है.
It shows your leadership skills, and GD GD as said is for 15 to 20 minutes, so you should not start with the conclusion that I feel demonetization is bad. It should come in the end. It should not be start with such kind of statement because you have been given, right? Clear?
Okay? Now the second one, after imagine you are somebody who was not aware of the topic. Okay? Do not start the GD. Okay? अगर आप टॉपिक के बारे में अवेयर नहीं हो और you feel that you do not have enough talking points, do not start the GD. Rather wait and let others speak. And when you will hear others speak, तुमको धीरे-धीरे idea होगा, okay, this is what the discussion is about, and you can then come up with points of your own. Okay? Now,
so it happens because somebody who knows कि GD कैसे handle करना है, they have been students जिनको शुरू में topic के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता होता है. When the topic is given, for example, moonlighting, वो 5-6 मिनट सबको सुन करके समझ करके then they start speaking and उनका हो जाता है. Right? So rather than you don't know और आप शुरू में बोलना चालू कर दो just for the sake of speaking, it can go against you also. Okay?
Okay. Next, what are the things that you should be talking about? How do you come up with points? Okay? Now, कितने लोगों को pestle के बारे में पता है? How many people know about pestle? P-E-S-T-E-L or P-E-S-T-L-E? Okay, you are aware of that?
There's a hand from behind, like this is the hand, like yeah. Can you tell? There was a hand. Yeah.
क्या है full form pestle का?
Political, economical,
social,
legal, technological.
And there's one more E.
Environmental. So basically this particular acronym, this just helps you come up with points. Okay? Sometimes what happens is during the GD तुम्हारा mind एक track पे सोचने लगता है. Okay? So pestle method is just a tool which helps you attack a particular point from different angles or talk about a particular topic from different angles. Okay? For example, if a topic like abortion, okay? A topic like abortion, whether it should be allowed, whether it should not be allowed, whatever is the other discussion, उसके लिए पहले तुमको देखना पड़ेगा what is the political scenario around it. ठीक है? तुम्हारे उसके legal aspects क्या है? ठीक है? Social aspects क्या है? So these are the certain things that we have to look into when discussing about this particular something which is very sensitive topic, and then you come up with your conclusions. Okay?
With abortion, like politically क्या impact होगा, legal क्या होगा?
How many of you are aware of the Roe versus Wade? You are aware of that. So that was a huge discussion few years back. Okay? Currently, in India, is abortion legal? Yes, it is legal. Okay? It is legal. Definitions have also been changed. Okay, now even if you are not married, you are still entitled to a abortion, and there is a certain period of time, 20 weeks, 24 weeks. Okay, there are different stages when you can get those abortions, but when it is approved by a person, by a doctor basically. Okay? So it's legal in India. So you have to know the political aspect of it, the social aspect of it. Social aspect में you can highlight the observation, a study that was done in USA which showed that when abortion was legalized, after around 15 years the crime rates were lower. Okay, so effect on society. Okay, these are the different points that you can come up with.
So basically what it does, it gives you a holistic approach, right? Instead of having a very narrow approach, आप जब pestle apply करते हो तो आपकी approach थोड़ी holistic हो जाती है, and that gives you body part.
ठीक है? Also one more thing, ये एक और myth है. We are generally discussing about the myths that are around GD. You are talking, for example, आपने जब बात करना चालू किया तो you said against the topic. ठीक है? Can you now say for the topic? क्या आप दोनों बोल सकते हो? For the topic as well as against the topic? You can. You have to understand this is a group discussion, not a debate. जब एक debate होता है, then you have to take a particular stand and you have to stick to it. But in a group discussion, you are discussing with people to reach the most optimum solution. So it actually gives you more points if you can come up with both the pros and cons. Because that shows that you are not a biased person and you are actually looking at it from two different perspectives. ठीक है? तो डिबेट में नहीं कर सकते, पर जीपी डिबेट नहीं है. ठीक है? ग्रुप में डिस्कस करें तो you can say both for as well as against. Clear? Any other myth generally? Okay. So when you are addressing somebody from the panel, okay, जिसके साथ तुम लोग बात कर रहे हो, okay, how should your body language be?
That's a non-verbal part, right? Till now we are talking about the verbal part.
So can you point at other people? Okay. Can you shout? No. So there are some basic etiquettes that you have to follow when you are part of a group discussion.
Can you use such kind of word? You are wrong. This is not right at all. Something like that. These kind of words you can use. Okay.
So yeah, these are certain etiquettes that you need to follow. The reason we are discussing about this is because जब आप GD में होते हो, this is a fact. जब आप GD में होते हो, obviously अंदर में because आप एक इंटरव्यू में बैठे हो, आप एक सिलेक्शन में बैठे हो, अंदर में डर रहता है. And what happens is when you are in the GD and when you are talking, that shows. So what happens is because you are so focused on coming up with the points or communicating those points that the moderator catches you. Okay? When you are generally nervous, ठीक है, आपके hand movement बहुत ज़्यादा animated. Your hand movements are very animated. A little bit of hand movement is completely okay because it adds to your communication. But when you have extremely animated hand movements, your posture is in front, ठीक है, आप आगे झुक के काफी बात कर रहे हो, ठीक है, तो these are certain things that you do not notice about yourself, but moderator notices. So you have to be very calm in these situations and you have to be very self-aware. Okay? आप किस तरह से बैठे हो, आप अगर किसी को एड्रेस कर रहे हो, किस तरह से एड्रेस कर रहे हो, okay? आप अगर किसी को किसी तरफ घूम के बात कर रहे हो, तो आपका बॉडी लैंग्वेज कैसा है, you have to be very cognizant of that. ठीक है? Because if the moderator catches on that this person is extremely nervous and assertive or aggressive में एक thin line है, आप वो thin line ना cross करें. It's absolutely aware of how you are projecting yourself is very important.
So this is really important because एक चीज it is important to understand जहाँ पे भी GD राउंड होता है PI के पहले GD होता है. And GD is basically the first impression. अगर आपका first impression अच्छा GD में हो गया, then PI becomes very easy. Like for example, for me in IIM Lucknow, there was a GD. मेरा GD बहुत अच्छा गया, तो interview was just like a cakewalk. Right? They got impressed by me during the GD. When I went for the interview, the questions were like that. बहुत छोटा 4-5 मिनट का interview हुआ, like I got selected. Same thing happened with Samsung also. The GD went so well कि when they were taking my interview, they were 80% sure that they want to take me. So it is a first impression जहाँ पे interviewer आपसे connect करता है physically. तो वहाँ पे impression create करना बहुत जरूरी होता है.
And companies में क्या होती है? Companies conduct these two rounds, G round and PI round. PI round is known as a selection round, but GD is known as the elimination round. तो GD में आप 10-15 लोग अगर बैठे हो, इंटरव्यू के लिए 7-8 लोग ही जाएंगे. Okay? B schools में ऐसा नहीं होता है. B schools में आपका the entire process is part of your selection. But when you are applying to different companies which conduct GD, वहाँ पे उनका elimination होता है. ठीक है? So you do not.
Again, there is a myth. अगर एक GD में 10 लोग बैठे हैं, तो क्या 5 लोग का सारे ग्रुप से 5-5 लोगों का ही होगा? क्या 4 लोगों का होगा? Let's say. How many students are selected from one GD?
एक GD में 10 लोग हैं. How much do you think the number of students who are getting selected?
1 or 2. Okay, let's say 30 students. So what is the average now? 3, right? 30 out of 100. So every GD 10 students are there. So they will select 3 students from all the GDs. Not necessarily. So what is the lowest number they can select from one GD? It can be 0 also.
Can be 0 and highest? It can be 10 from a group as well.
Yes. So it is very important to understand it is not only your individual contribution which will matter here. If a GD become a fish market, it doesn't matter how good you are, there can be a probability that you will not be selected.
Panel scrap together if it's a fish market. Okay, and if everybody follows the proper structure of the GD, everybody is aware कि हाँ जो problem है we have to address that. Everybody is getting an opportunity to speak. You are coming up with good points. You are weighing the pros and cons, and you are coming with a proper conclusion. If this entire process goes properly, the entire panel can also be supported. Okay? So it's all about working together. Okay? Generally, ideal scenario वही है. कभी-कभी नहीं होता है. There might be some people who would want to dominate the GD. Okay? But यहाँ पर भी आप brownie points earn कर सकते हो. ठीक है? What if you are somebody who is observing that a particular candidate has not spoken at all?
So 15 मिनट का GD है, 10 मिनट हो गए, अभी तक 1% ऐसा है जिसने एक बार भी कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं किया. So what should be your approach? उसको बोलने नहीं देना चाहिए. What? Okay, that is also one option to use.
But the moderator cares. ठीक है? Decision moderator पे है कि they will notice कि certain people are not speaking. Now in very few GDs moderator खुद बोल देता है कि आपने अभी तक कुछ बात नहीं किया, आप कुछ बोलो. But in majority of the cases, moderator is an invisible observer. Moderator will never interrupt the normal GD. So यहाँ पे आप क्या कर सकते हो? If you have observed somebody who has not spoken at all, or maybe did not get the opportunity to speak, not because the person does not have points, but maybe the person is shy, introverted. ठीक है? And the person doesn't know how to cut in. Okay? तो वहाँ पे what you can do is you can ask the person, you can address the person, and you can say that I think we all would like to hear if you have something to say. Okay? Because your opinion would also matter. So here you are showcasing your leadership skill. You are showcasing your observation skill. You are showcasing that the information that you need to get to the solution is bigger than yourself. आपको सबका opinion चाहिए to reach a proper conclusion. And अगर एक दो लोग बात नहीं की है अभी तक, you are giving them the opportunity to hear their points. Okay, so that definitely helps with your scoring. If everybody is having the same opinion, then you have to come up with counterpoints as well. Now, how do you come up with counterpoints? You will not say that I disagree, okay? Or you are wrong, as sir had mentioned. You can just say that yes, your point is valid, but on the other hand, if we look at this particular topic from this perspective, then this thing might not seem as positive as we are discussing right now.
So you can also say till now we have been discussing only the political side of the topic. Let's discuss on the social impact also. So this is how you can direct the BD, and that also will be working.
Which is why having that structure at the beginning is important. अगर आपके स्टार्टिंग में जीडी का स्ट्रक्चर है कि पहले हम पॉजिटिव्स के बारे में बात करेंगे, फिर हम नेगेटिव्स के बारे में बात करेंगे, फिर हम वे इन करके कंक्लूजन्स बनाएंगे, तो अगर वो स्ट्रक्चर रेडी है एंड 15 मिनट की जीडी में अगर 10 मिनट की सिर्फ पॉजिटिव्स के बारे में बात हुई, then you can chip in and you can say that since we have discussed a lot about the positive side of it, I think we should not discuss maybe some of the adverse effects this has. समझ आए? Okay, so you can chip in and the other way around as well. If only negative points आ रहे हैं, तो आप positive points के discussion के लिए भी time out कर सकते हैं. Which again shows that you are aware कितना मिनट हुआ है और कौन कितना मिनट बात किया है. कि 15 मिनट के जीडी में आप टाइम का भी ट्रैक करते हैं. ठीक है? And another very important aspect is कि you have to be an extremely good listener. ठीक है? आपको अगर अपना पॉइंट आगे रखना है, अगर आपको चिप इन करना है, तो you have to listen to what everybody is saying. ठीक है? Most of the GDs में आपको एक पैक दिया जाएगा, जिसमें और पेन दिया जाएगा लिखने के लिए. What most people do is वहाँ पे सिर्फ अपने जो स्टार्टिंग में बोलेंगे अपने पॉइंट्स लिखते हैं. But that is not the entire utilization of that scratch pad. You have to also make sure कि आप सबके पॉइंट्स लिखो.
So it also happens कि सब अपना बोलते हैं. जैसे आपने स्टार्ट किया, you said your point. Now for 2-3 minutes you are disinterested. आप देख ही रहे हो कौन क्या बोल रहा है, उधर देख रहे हो, अपनी कॉपी में देख रहे हो. That is also not good. It is important when you have said your point. आप दूसरे भी जब बोल रहे हैं, you are listening them, you are looking towards them in a very positive tone. It shows कि आपकी listening quality is बहुत अच्छी. It is not only about you speaking for 2-3 minutes out of that 15 minutes. It is also important कि remaining 12 minutes में आपका body language दूसरों की तरफ भी बहुत अच्छा हो और positive हो और आप उसको listen करो.
And ultimately, if you have listened to everybody's points, you have noted down everybody's points, इसके आगे के benefits होंगे कि number one, you are able to come to a proper conclusion और आप GD को properly end कर सकते हो. Okay, again, same question. Just like the discussion.
Phone charged.
Start a GD or not? Should you end the GD as well? And when you're ending the GD, when you're concluding the GD, what are the things that you have to talk about? Reiterate the points and try not to give your opinion. अगर तुम्हारा जो opinion है उसका time already पहले हो चुका है. Yes, you can give my conferences. And what else? What else? What are the things that you're supposed to do when you're concluding the GD? So, number one, that which is help you if you are going to conclude a GD is listening to everybody's points. Number two, as I said, consensus. Now for that, you have to weigh in different perspectives. Now, क्या आप अपने perspective को हमेशा रखोगे conclusion में? ठीक है? Not necessarily. काफी लोग ये करते हैं कि जब वो लोग conclude कर रहे हैं तो उन्होंने जो points कहा है उसी को reiterate करते हैं. ठीक है? But rather if there are 5 positive points and 5 negative points that has been discussed about a particular topic और good discussion सिर्फ 2 ही points के थे तो वो अगर आपका point नहीं हो फिर भी आपको mention करना है. Even if somebody else has said something better than what you have mentioned, that should be in the highlight. ठीक है? And और क्या करना पड़ता है? Depending on how good or how strong the argument was, you can also give a consensus. Here we decided that it is more towards the positive side. But generally GD में जैसे topics दिया जाता है, वहाँ पे general consensus नहीं होता. ठीक है? So it is kind of inconclusive. The overall outcome of the GD that is generally given to the topics that are given to you, वो ऐसे होते हैं जिसमें negative और positive points balance होते हैं. ठीक है? So एक GD अच्छे से conduct है कि नहीं उसका proof होता है कि कितने अच्छे से positive और negative points दोनों को depth में discuss किया गया है.
So one point I will say about conclusion that what has been my strategy, sir, has been very good. मेरा तरीका ये रहता था कि if my GD has gone well, I will never conclude. Right? That's a risk in kind. If I fumble in anything, I will lose what I have gained till now. Right? If my GD has not gone till now, I haven't spoken much, my points were not that good, then I will take that risk and I will conclude. Because that is the last ball of the match. Like if you take it like kind of a cricket match, अगर last over में 2 ही रन चाहिए तो I will not go for that 6. But last over में if I need 20 runs, then I will have to go ahead and take that risk. So if my GD has gone well, I never do go ahead and do the conclusion. But if I feel from inside that my GD has not gone that well, then I will go ahead and do the conclusion. Right? So in the end, ultimately आपको ये समझना है कि आपको ज़्यादा बोलना important नहीं है, ज़्यादा चीजें करना important नहीं है. The most important thing is you have to be selective. Right? अगर आपको लग रहा है वहाँ पहुँच चुके हो तो फिर don't hover around much और ज़्यादा impatient होके don't do anything extra. That is very important. Okay? These are the topics like which can happen to be thinking to conduct a mock IDB.
So we are so based on these few pointers that we mentioned, okay, we are planning to conduct a very short 10-minute GD. Okay? We'll give you the point, we'll give you 1 minute, and we'll give you roughly 7 to 8 minutes to talk
If
about
it's
it.
small meeting, so somebody like who want to volunteer come up. It has to be fast. Come on.
Anyone? Anybody who wants to participate for a GD?
Initiative part. Select randomly. You have
Let's first see who wants to volunteer. Okay? You might get to learn something about yourself as well.
It will be a small video, 7-8 minutes, and won't be that big. It's just that you all can.
We can have a small discussion with only 6 people, 5 to 6 people. Okay, 1, 2, यहाँ पे 2 लोग हुए, just 2, 3 more.
Come on. We've conducted other college, enthusiasm was higher. Anybody else? Come on. Yeah. Over 1 more. We now have 3. We need 3 more. Come on, guys. Come on. Next 30 seconds, and we will start taking out.
Anyone? I think just one more person.
Yeah. We have only 1 more will do. Sandy circle kind of a thing will be better so that you all can see each other. Since we have a limited time, it will be a quick you will get some work time to prepare and then 6 minutes I think. Okay, so we can start with the topic. Okay.
Topic for you guys is, should euthanasia be legal?
This topic being listened heard by everyone.
Is it, so the topic is, should euthanasia be legal? How many are aware of what euthanasia is?
Anyone among
Nobody is
you?
aware? You are aware.
There is one.
One of them is aware. You want others what it is?
Okay, so euthanasia is a process for a free choice by which a person who has been suffering from either long-term illness which is causing them chronic pain and chronic disease, they can choose to end their life voluntarily with painless. For example, it's legalized in Switzerland if I'm not wrong, and they have a gas bomb where they just put in.
That's the topic so that everybody is aware of it. And maybe 1 minute to come up with it. euthanasia be legal? आप सबको क्लियर हो गया राइट? टॉपिक क्या है, मीनिंग क्या है? Basically, that you are requesting the doctor that you are unable to, carry on with your suffering and you want to end your life, okay, in a medical procedure. So voluntarily, you want your life to end. Whoever wants to start.
I think euthanasia is a very interesting concept. Of course, there are many people suffering in today's world from various kinds of diseases, and in euthanasia, they can voluntarily sacrifice or kill themselves, whatever it is. And on the other hand, there's also, in a country like India, for example, it is very important to note that many people can use euthanasia unethically as well. It is very important to regulate it and implement euthanasia properly. So, yeah, I would like to hear the
completely agree with your point and people use of euthanasia because the main concern in the point of euthanasia is that in long-term diseases or diseases with chronic pain and chronic illness, what comes to the question of mental capacity. Who is the one deciding whether they can capable of making a decision for themselves? And if they are not capable of a decision, who will take the decision to? If they leave it to a relative person who is close enough to them, then they can easily misuse that in order to use their property or their land or anything like that. So regulation is not like this. However, it's very hard to decide under what circumstances can euthanasia be taken. Because let's say it's chronic pain. But you also have to understand whether medication as well is cause one to take euthanasia. However, I agree that the entire process is very tedious and it is a very good solution for people with chronic illnesses. They have to constantly invest in food and nutrition just to stay alive. And they sometimes act as a burden on themselves as well as people around them. So they might have to voluntarily take euthanasia and end up not financial burden on people around them.
Okay, so you talked about the system that is implemented in Switzerland regarding the introduction of a pod. You can take, if you want, it's illegal in Switzerland. So if you compare the systems of Switzerland and compare it with the system of India, so just for a brief impact, if we take the infant mortality rate of Switzerland and compare it with India's, okay, so in India there is a taboo that in such societies where if infant which is born is a female, then there is a huge amount of killings of those infants as well. So, speaking to adding on to the negative portion of this topic, I think if you implement such practices, then the family can get a legal place or a legalized implication or a legalized form in which they can kill much more people if they think that it's not a better thing.
I would like to just point out, you mentioned about infant mortality. I think there's going to be some regulation about euthanasia as well. I don't think it would apply to infants, etc. But then there's another aspect that many people suffer from various kinds of illnesses, and that they become a burden. And many families might pressurize the person to sign or to give willingness to kill himself, whatever it is. So it is very important to know both the aspects of pros and cons, what euthanasia can bring, and it is very important how it is implemented.
I believe that I totally